it's Taylor T. Carlson. I'm back and I've got another video for you. Continuing our trend of reviewing the Game Boy Mega Man games, today we're taking a look at Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy, or as it was known in Japan, Rockman World 2. The second Mega Man game on the Game Boy, it takes elements from Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3 on the NES. The story from the instruction manual involves the evil Dr. Wily going forward in time many years, finding the former Mega Man, who's no longer Mega Man, but back to being Dr. Light's laboratory assistant. He's then kidnapped by Dr. Wily in the future, taken, reprogrammed, and turned into a new robot called Quint. Of course, in the present day, Mega Man's got to spring into action, fighting several old enemies along the way. Much like the previous Game Boy Mega Man game, you start out with a choice of 4 robot masters that you originally fought in the NES games. You fight through these 4 and you can get the rush powers, which will help you get through the levels a lot easier. And once the initial 4 are beaten, you go to Dr. Wily's castle. Of course, by this point, you probably think the game's going to be coming to a close, but Dr. Wily's not going to make it that easy for you. You'll fall down a hidden passage in the castle, and before you know it, you're faced with 4 teleporters, and each one of these will take you to a new level where you'll fight the robot masters that you fought in Mega Man 3 on the NES. Using all your weapons and items to get through these levels, when you get to the end, you'll finally do battle with Quint, and after that, once again, you'll head to outer space where, for whatever reason, in most of the Game Boy games, Dr. Wily has a space base at the end of the game, something he never did on the NES. Once again, that's the case here. And of course, eventually you'll fight your way through Wily's Space Fortress, and you'll do battle with him at the end of the game. So, compared to the first Mega Man game on the Game Boy, which I was actually pretty critical with, how does Mega Man 2 measure up? Well, I've seen a lot of mixed critical reception regarding this game. Honestly, I found this to be a massive improvement over Mega Man and Dr. Wily's Revenge. For one thing, you've got energy tanks, which makes the game much easier. Again, you get passwords after you complete each level, so you can pretty much skip to the final Wily stage, which is actually pretty convenient. You've got almost twice as many levels as you did in the previous game. You've got all the rush powers to make things interesting, the slide move, and it's just a game that will keep your interest a lot more than the previous one did because there's not as many frustrating spots where you're just going to be killed cheaply and easily. Of course, it's not a perfect game. One of the biggest problems I have with the first 3 Mega Man games on the Game Boy, there's no in-game story. You have to read the instruction manual to get the story, and in this day and age with secondhand games and virtual consoles, who actually has the instruction manual? And while the rush powers are great, the Rush Marine, the submarine form, it can only be used literally 3 places in the entire game. The limited use of Rush Marine resulted in it being phased out in later games, both on the NES and the Game Boy, and perhaps rightfully so. There's also some weird game physics and sprite designs. Look at Dr. Wily in the final battle. He's piloting this craft, but he's tiny. Dr. Wily's supposed to be about the same size as Mega Man, and here it's like he's half the size of Mega Man in a vehicle that's only slightly taller than Mega Man. And look at some of these enemies that were on the NES. The sprite designs have changed so much, and not for the better. There's also some weird inconsistencies with the NES games and the versions of these enemies you fought there, like these giant slinky guys. They fire missiles that seek you out, but for some reason in this game, their missiles are bulletproof. That certainly wasn't the case on the NES, and it's annoying on more than a few occasions. I wouldn't say the game is walk in the park easy, but it's certainly more accessible than the game that came before, as well as the one that came right after. Another issue too is with the character of Quint. This is supposedly Mega Man from the future after he's been kidnapped after becoming a lab assistant again, reprogrammed, and turned evil. Mega Man is the Blue Bomber. He's a guy who beats Dr. Wily all the time. And all Dr. Wily does is turns him into this wimp who wears sunglasses and goes around on a jackhammer pogo stick. And what's the deal with that pogo stick weapon? It's practically useless. When you use it, you end up hurting yourself more than you hurt the enemies. Despite the issues, I'm actually impressed with Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy. I know this one's got a mixed reception from a lot of people. Many people bash the high-pitched music, but I actually enjoy the music because they did original tunes that weren't just emulated versions of, scaled down NES music. I'm honestly glad to see a game that's not as frustrating and cheap as the previous one, and I would actually rank this probably in the better Mega Man entries on the Game Boy, probably right in the middle of the 5. 4 and 5, which come later, I think are superior games, but this one's better than 1 and 3, which were just cheap challenges that frustrate the player to no end. What do you think of Mega Man 2 for the Game Boy? Comment below and let me know. Also, be sure to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I'm Taylor T. Carlson, and I will see you next time